Hey guys, welcome to this new class for art103. So today we're going to talk about color palette for image from film and photography so we can understand about grading. And in the next class we're going to do some practical grading exercise. But before starting to tweak the image with the grade, it's really important to understand how identify the color palette so we can reproduce it. And it works for the contrast as well, which is how we're going to use the black and the whites. And I'm actually going to start with this. So if we look at this photo, for example, which looks quite dark, let's remove the crop and zoom a bit. So in this picture, we can see that we have mainly dark values and a little bit of bright values, but not that many. And even the brightest are probably not white. So a good way to check that is actually to bring a level. So let me just bring the layers. And on the layer, I'm going to put an adjustment layer and I'm going to bring a level. So if I bring a level, so let me just take what I am interested in, which is this one. And I'm actually going to keep this one as well because that is going to be important for the rest. So if we look at this level here, we can really identify which sort of values we have. So from the 0 to 255, which is the brightest, we can see that we have a high concentration in the low value. And then basically after this section there, we don't really have many, which means that the brightest spots that we have is around this value here. There. So, and that is the output. So it means that with this entrance, we still want to output from black 0 to white 255. What's interesting is if you put another level on top, for example, obviously it's going to show the same. If you go back to this level here and then you crank up the exposure to actually redefine the spectrum and say, now I want to export from 0 to 255, but I want my highest value, which is going to be 255, to actually be that one. Now, if I go to my level here, I can see that I've expanded my whole graph, obviously creating some holes because I'm missing some values because I'm only working in 8 bits at the moment. And I can also see that here, we don't have a lot of dark black that don't exist. If I go back to here, actually it is consistent. We can tell that we are missing a bit of blacks, so there's no reason to have them back here. I'm going to put my values here. So my now 0 is actually what previously was the 8. So I'm just going to come and grab a bit more of what we had here to expand a bit more. And now when I'm going to look here, now I've got the value at 0 as well. So from the beginning, just to check, now here I have an image using the 255 values. So that is what you can do with the level to understand how things are working. Now, obviously, I can also go back to what I had here, knowing that here that tells me that, you know, it's about the middle that we are removing the highlight. So it means that if I go here and I put another level on top, and I'm gonna set now my highest value is actually roughly at the middle, which is here, and my darkest was not completely dark, it was probably more at 8, we said. Now here I'm going back roughly to what we had at the beginning. I'm just a little bit of stuff here because it's not perfect, but as you can see, compared to what I had here, I am pretty close to the original. Some of the difference is also because obviously I don't have all the values because I kind of clamped it. But you see the main characters here are now exposed pretty much the same as the original. So I'm opening with contrasting everything, this one, by bringing my value here. So it's at 150. Then here is just the one to control. Then this one that I've just put, it's actually 150, we said, 8 and 150. And now that gives me relatively close to the original result. Now, because I've done 2 grading, one on top of each other, if I bring my level on top just to check, this is how it looks. So you see, I've lost a little bit of information, but the curve roughly has the same sort of shape. I've just lost a bit of information, but that is a good way to analyze the range of an image and try to understand what constitutes this image. I'm going to reduce that. We're going to have a look now at this one. This one, which is another case. I'm going to do the same exercise. I'm just going to bring a level on top. And this one, what you can tell is that you have a lot of values. They're all here, except that we don't have anything above 194, 195, and we don't have anything under 32, which means that the darkest that we have, blacks, are 32, and the brightest white that we have are 194. If now I bring my two things here, I create an image which is going to be fully exposed on the range. So now I have all the range represented from 0 to 255. And again, if I put another level and I check what we had here was 32 and 194. So if I go back here and I put 32 and 194, I should be pretty close to the original. See? So obviously I lost a little bit of information, probably, if I compare this one to this one. Not that much, actually. It's pretty similar. Just a few bits here. Maybe the high here. But it's because also we're working in 8 bits, so, you know, it's a bit destructive. But you can tell that the curve is looking quite similar. So you can analyze an image like that, and this is what we're going to do to understand how to grade in the next lesson. So this example is for the black and white. So this case is a low contrast image. This one is going to be a high contrast image. So if I do the same exercise on this picture, this time the curve is going to be quite different because we're going to have quite a lot of information in the black and a lot of, not a lot in the middle, and boom, straight away the white are going to be very high because, as you can tell, the whites are really high. So to do that, obviously we need to say that we want all the relatively strong bright colors, here values, to become white. So we're going to see how we can grade an image to get this effect. So high contrast here, we have mainly blacks that we see here, like a lot of blacks, a little bit of mid-range, not so many variations into the high values, and then just the white, a lot of them, because obviously we are clumping quite a lot here. So that is for the black and white. Let me just rearrange my desktop like that. So this is what the three here. Now I'm going to show you how to identify the colors, because that is quite important things to do, and we're going to play with that as well. So let's take this image, for example, from Blade Runner 2049, which, as you can tell, is really orange, obviously. I'm going to do that. So a lot of variation. It's very monochromatic. We can feel a little bit of green somewhere, but maybe we can invent that. It's really monochromatic. We have a bit of blue here, but that's all. So what you can do to analyze a bit better that is to go to image mode and put it in indexed color. And you can select 216, or even if we can go for 128 colors. Yeah, okay, 216. 216 in index color, and then here you go to color tab, and it's gonna bring what we're gonna do. So if I go here, sorry, I need to cancel for now. I'm gonna load it later. So index color here. Actually, I could show you something else now. It's fine. I'm going to do that first. So color table. Hang on, let me try something quickly because maybe we should go for forced none. There you go. Yes. So let's bring back my 6 up. This one, my index color. So you can tell that, you kind of broke a bit the qualities because I reduced the amount of, except that it didn't do exactly what I wanted. So I'm going to do it again because I didn't take the right parameter, sorry. So I'm going to go to index color and I'm going to go for force none. Now it's a bit better. And now I'm going to bring the color table. There you go. So if you look at this now, it gives you a representation of the different colors that are used into this image. So actually the 216 colors that you see in this image. And what you can tell is that mainly you're using this kind of orange with a lot of different variations and saturation. Then you have some yellowish, a little bit of green, and a very few blues. Obviously the blues are here, so it's easy to identify. But you can tell that mainly the color that we are using here are this yellow, orangey type of thing. That is playing with the replacement of this color. So you can do some tests. It's quite interesting to rearrange this and see what it is. So that's what we do when we want to see the swatches of the color, which we can call the color table. So again, here modes bring the color table from here. And what is quite interesting is that you can then pick the color if you want to analyze the value and stuff, or if you want to paint, you can just paint and pick the color from here, and it's gonna just tell you, what it is. You can select the color from here to show you where you are and how many of this color has been used in the image. So for example, this one here is there, this one here is going to be here. So if you want to then do a digital painting, that's actually quite interesting technique. That tells you a lot of things. So that is something which is quite interesting, and we're going to use that to reproduce a grading. But it's really good to be able to see the type of colors that are constituting your image. So for example, for Blade Runner, what we are talking about is having a lot of brown type of desaturated orange, some yellow, and a bit of blue. So we are in split complementary type of thing, just because you have a bit of blue. Otherwise, we would be more into either a monochromatic, if you consider they all the same, or analogous. But here we are quite close to a split complementary. We can kind of neglect the green because, like, if you select here, like you can tell that you have really nothing compared to the yellow here. Like, what is green here? You don't have a lot. I can't even find it actually. Where is the green? See, it's really minimal. It's probably just a few pixels. So that is Blade Runner. That is the swatch of Blade Runner. If we take this one, which is quite interesting, which is Amélie, if you remember. Sorry, I need to close that window first. So Amélie, you can tell, oh yes, that is green and red, which is a normal complementary type of thing. So we can do the same treatment. We can go here and go for index color. Don't forget to put it in none. 216, local, adaptive, okay. And then you can mode color table, and there you go. So again, green, massively green, little bit of red, very, very a bit of yellow, but not much, very little. The yellow, if you look, is actually for this sort of thing. The quite bright, what was meant to be bright is going to be in the yellow. What was meant to be white actually is going to be in the yellow. Here the clothes are going to be all in the red. As you can tell, all these values are coming from the red, and then the rest is going to be in the green. So basically clothes here and big details like this, red, the rest green, and only the high values who could have been white normally are going to appear to be yellowish. So now you can also focus on how much you have. If you take 216 values, you have a lot of different values in the green, a little bit different values in the red, and just a few variations in the highlights for the yellow. So I would say you have something like almost 3/4 are going to be in the green, and almost the whole quarter is going to be in the red, and just a tiny few variations in the yellow. But mainly we're talking about that sort of things. If I'm actually going to bring back the quality of my image with all my stuff, if I now bring my level on that, so obviously this is going to give me, as I showed you before, the representation of the values in RGB, so the black and white, so the shade of gray, if you want, in this image. So as you can tell, we don't have a lot of very highlights. We have quite a strong dark values, probably because of this section there, but mainly we are in the mid-tone and we don't have a lot of highlights. Now you can check the red, the green, and the blue. So the blue, you have some blue in the 0, and you can see how you can grade channel per channel. So if I change in the middle, I'm just balancing the mid. So where the mid would be green, now I'm just going to remove it and put more space for the other color. So it's going to bring, with the blue, I'm on the blue, sorry. Where it used to be green, I'm going to actually remove it, and I'm going to push the blue. I'm going to say now all this concentration of blue, you're going to go back where it was before. So you're going to see more. If I do that, it's going to do the same, but mainly in the highlights. So you're going to see that it's going to bring back the blue in the highlights, so the whites, and instead of having yellow, greeny, white, now I'm going to have white because I'm going to bring the blue that was missing. If I go on the other side, I'm just increasing it. So I'm just increasing the effect of removing the blue which is there. I remove even more, so it becomes the mixture of yellow and green that I had before. If now I play there, that is going to do the opposite effects as we explained with the white. So it's the output level. So instead of having the whole range, now I'm going to say, all right, everything which is 0 and 34 is actually going to be remapped until 0. So all the blue that I had from 34 to ongoing now is going to be pulled into 0 to 255. So it's going to bring more of the blue into the 0 values. So in the dark, in the dark colors, I'm going to bring more of the blue, which is why the highlights and the whites still stay relatively warm, but the green, the main green everywhere now is going blue. And if I go on the other side, it's increasing into the highlights, the absence of the blue. Green, obviously this is the color that we have right now. So if I go on the right or on the left, so I just shift everything, so it's going to increase or it's going to decrease, removing the red, bring the match, removing the green, bring the match and the red. So it's going to increase that sort of color, and this is how you're going to balance in the mid-tone, and this is how you're going to balance for the high values, low values, and output for the high and the low. And reds, obviously, removing the reds from the dark values means that this red in the yellow green that I have here is going to disappear. So it's going to be green. In the mid-tone is going to, if I go on the left, it's going to shift everything. So everything in the midtone that was green, yellowish now is going to go back to more red. And if I shift that, it's the same for the highlight. So it's going to bring more red in the highlight. And this is going to cut the red in the highlight. So that's why it becomes more green. And here it's in the dark value that it's going to shift as well. So that's how we're going to grade using the levels, because you can have a nice representation of what constitutes your image. And it's good to see what you can do with that. That is for Amelie. We're going to do a test in the next class to actually grade following these values. The last image I wanted to have a look at is this image from the matrix, which is also quite interesting in terms of grading, because I think we've got a lot of very nice and subtle variations. So again, I'm going to play with my levels on that. And it's already been, yes, because of the test up, there we go. I'm going to bring my level. So the normal level is going to give me the information. So quite a lot of dark values. Yes, that is true. It's all over the map here. That a bit of mid values, but not real white values. It's true. Actually, you don't have anything very, very bright. If I want to have a brightest image, I could do that sort of thing, or even that sort of thing, flirting with the high key type of thing. And now I have obviously way more high range. So if I bring another level, my curve is going to be slightly different. Here I'm going to be way more than I have here. Not a lot of mid and high values, way more mid and high values. So that's the impact of the first level. But let's put it back to normal, which is 1 to 55. And let's have a look at the red. Not any red really into the mid-range and the high range. So if I do that, it's going to bring some red in the mid-range, which is why now the skin looks closer to a normal image. So basically what we've done to grade for the matrix is removing the red from the mid-range. So obviously I don't want to increase even more this FX. So what I would do if I wanted to go back to something very natural would probably be something like bringing back some red. In terms of green, we have like a relatively good repartition. I'll probably do something like that. And we clearly miss some blue. Yeah, as you can tell here, we don't have any blue. So we need to do something with that. We don't want to do that because it's going to bring the yellow instead of... That would bring the yellow into the highlight. That would add some blue into the darks. But we probably have a better natural grade if you want to go back to natural something, obviously. And that would be like more like a natural type of grade, which compared to the matrix is that. Now, let's say that I want to actually go to my Amelie type of grade. I would probably go for... First of all, I need to claim that. Then I would start to bring some red into the high values because we've said that we had some red. We need to cut some blue to bring the green and the yellow, probably removing a little bit of blue in the highlights because the highlights are supposed to be relatively yellow. By doing that, the green, that is for bringing some red into the shadows. Bit of red, green into the highlights. And as you can tell, we are already quite close to what we have here. probably missing a bit of green. So I can go from a grading to another one, and that's what we're going to do a bit more into the next class. So as you can see, we've had a look at a few different ways to analyze what is into an image in terms of colors or just contrast values between the black and the white. And it's really interesting to practice some grading because first, if you want to create a composition by mixing some images, you want to create like a common grade on all of them. You want all the black to match together, and you want the colors to be in the same color palette. So a lot of people are using the curves. The curves are really good. I think the levels are also quite interesting because you really visualize the whole range very quickly. You can also see if you do something too destructive, because suddenly you're going to start to have a lot of holes, which means that you've done a process which is damaging the image a bit too much. To check the palette of the color, again, modes, index color. Don't forget to, yes, you have to flatten the layers if you want to do that. So we can flatten so index color and put it to false known. Well, here in that case is going to be exact because it's just gray. And then you can mode color table and go for the color table. And then, for example, here in this image, you can see how much high value you have compared to dark values. And that's what we said is because we have a very contrast image. I'm talking about this one right now, the one here. So a lot of highlights, a small amount of mid-range, and not so much of dark, but quite a few because it's black. So that's it. So have a play with that, and in the final class of the series, we are going to do some exercise to grade some of our photos to different type of style of films, and grading of contrast, so we can practice a little bit that sort of things, and using the level with the reference of what we've just did. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoy this class, and see you at the next one. Bye.